I'm so happy to be here tonight to present this project together with these two people here with me who are joining this discussion. And I'm talking about Noah Davis, who is a post-war and contemporary art specialist at Christies, and Shivani Mitra, who is an art historian, and she works at MOCA, which is the Museum of Crypto Art. Sorry, I thought that I was muted. So this is very exciting. This is one of the best projects I've ever worked on. It's collaboration, if we can say so, between Leonardo and Hackatao. And I was the curator of the project. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, MOCA, for making this possible. Colburn is not here, but he's watching us and putting us in contact with Noah and Christies. Thank you, Shivani, for all your work. Thank you to all the architects who build all these spaces where we are showing everything. Just a few words about the concept of this, what I call an artistic gesture. This is how I see it. Tonight we celebrate art, I think, and what is art, which is a continuum that doesn't know place nor time, and this is just what we want to show with this project, and just art that changes its name but never changes its voice. So back then, 500 years ago, called Renaissance art with Leonardo, and today called crypto art with Hackatao. All of these people pushing the limits, and all of these people just being artists. And yes, so what happened is that tomorrow at Christie's London, original drawing by Leonardo, which is called Head of a Bear, will be auctioned for the special sales, but Noah will talk about that better later. And Hackatao, who everybody knows is this artist duo, they do digital art and crypto art, pioneers in the NFT space, were called and commissioned to create an art piece which would connect with this Leonardo drawing. So what they did was they used a process that they have been using for a long time now. They first were doing that on their physical canvases, using the technology of augmented reality, and so creating this beautiful connection, as I say, like an umbilical cord between the digital soul of the piece and the physical soul of the piece, which are now forever connected. And this time they did it on this Leonardo's drawing. So what happens is that when you look at the Leonardo drawing, if through the Area app, so if you download this app and you scan the image, this head of this bear is just basically brought back to life. So Leonardo is living again in the metaverse. That's what we said. The two centuries met. The bear is alive, and what they did is they created this 3D head of a bear just coming out of the drawing. I hope that you can enjoy it in the space. And they literally, like, they didn't draw directly on the head, but they literally drew this skin that was put on the 3D model of the bear. Anyways, I hope that you can see it live. And if you cannot see it live, augmented reality and technology allows us to do it also with a photo of the Leonardo piece. It can be on a screen, it can be on a catalog, it can be anywhere. Once that the image is codified, it will forever be connected, which is also the romantic part of this. From today, Leonardo and Hackatao will forever be together in the manifestation of this art piece, and we are very happy to have done that. So we tokenized the digital animation on Superrare, which everybody knows. It's probably the first NFT platform. So we are very fond of them, and three derivative pieces to celebrate the event, also tokenized on Superrare. And then we also have an NFT for the 3D head, which will be donated to MOCA, Museum of Crypto Art, to thank them and to be part of this project. But now I would like to also let my speaker friends talk as well. So I would just I talk from the point of view of curator of digital and crypto art. This is what I do, what I have been doing for 3 years now, but I'm really curious also to know the point of view of Noah, who is working at Christie's. So auction house and not really in the crypto space, or maybe yes, lately actually. Like, what do you think about this project? Did you like it? Did you enjoy working on that? What is your take on this?
Oh, thank you so much for that introduction, Eleonora. And it's been so amazing to work with you and Hackatao on this super unique project. My name is Noah Davis, and I'm a specialist in the contemporary art department at Christie's, operating out of New York City. I was the specialist head of sale for the now, I guess, notorious Beeple auction, which realized $69 million. For a one-of-one NFT. And that was the first NFT that was ever really headline news. And it totally changed my life completely. And I will be completely honest too, before the Beeple sale, my experience with NFTs and the metaverse and the crypto space was extremely limited, extremely surface level. And now it's what I do every single day, all day. Every day. I have basically been in the office where I'm speaking to you from now ever since Beeple. I was banished from my apartment. I was not able to work from home after Beeple because it was just constant interviews and on the phone. And anyway, it has been an amazing roller coaster of becoming specialized in this new field. Until Beeple, my specialty was contemporary art and strictly in real life art, so IRL art as opposed to NFT based art. And very quickly, I have become immersed in this zone and really keyed into all of the fascinating, amazing work that's going on in the space. And Hackatao are just a piece of that incredible mosaic or puzzle of crypto native artists. So I've had the pleasure of getting to work with a lot of different creators, but especially Hackatao's practice speaks to me for its dynamism and the use of augmented reality and artificial intelligence. And I really think that the work they created for this project is incredible and such a special thing to behold. One of my most important goals now moving forward is to further integrate the contemporary art world and the art world more generally with the crypto space, and to find ways to do that make sense and are organic and natural as opposed to contrived and gimmicky, because that's, I think I can speak for everybody, that's the last thing that we want. The last thing that we need is for this to simply be a cash grab, and that's a great way to ruin a good thing. So this project, there's nothing immediately for sale, right? And that's part of the exciting thing here. Most of what I do in a day-to-day is very sale-oriented and driven by the bottom line. And this was purely about promoting Hackatao. Honestly, for me, that's the most important thing, is promoting Hackatao by way of the Leonardo, but also creating a really dynamic, compelling and immersive work of art and an experience for our audience. My thesis is, and I hope that this is not much of a stretch, but if Leonardo were around today, he would absolutely be interested in the crypto space and NFT based art and all things, that are familiar to us and that we're also passionate about now. He would totally be into it, because he was the consummate technologist of his day. So there's an affinity there, and Hackatao are Italian, Leonardo's Italian. It just made sense, right? The pairing made sense. And you might be wondering, and it'd be totally fair of you to wonder this, how this all came about, because it seems like it, other than the two connections that I just made, it might seem a little tangential. This will be surprising to approximately no one, but after the Beeple results, very many people in the contemporary art world and the art world more generally started paying attention and thinking about NFTs and ways that NFTs could be used in that way that I just described, right? So there were all sorts of opportunities for me to connect creative people in the NFT space with the in real life space, to sort of make those connections again in a way that makes sense. So we chose Hackatao, or really Colburn. I have to give credit to Colburn, made the recommendation to reach out to Hackatao when we had this Leonardo drawing coming in, and we wanted to do something special, and also engage with both of these audiences, the crypto space and the real world art world. So we knew that we had the Leonardo drawing in the pipeline, and we wanted to have a dynamic exhibition plan for it. And Colburn recommended we reach out to Hackatao to engage for this project. I'm so glad that he did, because the work that they put into this is very apparent. I mean, the augmented reality is so startling and intense, and it really does bring this artwork fully and wholly into the 21st century in an incredible way that I really do believe could indoctrinate a lot of people, out there who might be wondering about this whole movement and virtual art and NFT based art. There's such a pandemonium in the media and a misunderstanding about what the medium does, what it is. So many people deriding it as just something you can take a screenshot of, and this is the antithesis of that, because you cannot approximate this artwork in any other way. You have to experience it. You have to use the app on the image for it to come out into your space, right? It's a way of integrating the real world and the virtual world in a really seamless capacity. And that to me is really where the magic happens. Not just with NFTs, but with virtual art and with art generally, right? It can't be experienced in any other way, shape, or form than its native presentation. And so this opportunity to bring Leonardo into the 21st century, to bring Leonardo to the metaverse, and to bring Hackatao to the global Christies audience, it was just a perfect, amazing opportunity. So I've just been really thrilled to be a part of it. And really, all I can take credit for is helping to connect the dots. But this is just one of the amazing projects that I've gotten to work on ever since the explosion of NFTs. And it's an amazing roller coaster that we're all on together. I'm very happy to be here with all of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Noah, for these beautiful words. I couldn't agree more. We actually had a conversation about Leonardo, like, what would he do with NFT, as you were saying? I was like, he probably would have invented them. That's what I think that he would have done. But yeah, thank you so much. I agree with everything that you said. And yes, it really is a first step towards education that maybe we would talk about later, and to create the connection between these worlds, which are actually very connected. And today, when I wrote my curatorial note, I just asked people, like, my question for you today is this: was it any of these ever separated? Maybe we did separate it for our, pleasure or convenience, but I'm sure that art was always one unique thing. Thank you, Noah. And now I would like to talk to Shivani, who's here represented MOCA. She's an art historian. Shivani, do you just want to tell us about MOCA a little, and why you wanted to be involved with this? What is the museum project? Why you guys open a museum or crypto art? And also, if you want to talk about the architecture a little, or anything you want to talk about.
Thank you. Yes, all of the above. First, thank you, Hackatao. Thank you, Eleonora. Thank you, Noah. You're all such kind visionaries. And I think that's the core of this, is the people who move something forward. I studied art history because I found the idea of people telling stories of historical events with visuals to be one of the most compelling parts of humans. And I think, with the Museum of Crypto Art, we see this movement of cryptocurrency, the financial transformation it's seeking, the freedom, sovereignty, ownership, empowerment it's offering. And there is crypto art, which is really putting a visual aesthetic to these feelings and these impulses. And, when I joined the museum in August with Colby, there's these ideas that, we were all thinking about a metaverse and a place that is, maybe protected from the worst parts of how sometimes technology can be used to just keep things and power structures as the way they are. But with crypto art, there is a world where we can build multiple metaverses, right? Which is why we are kind of metaverse agnostic. And Arium is one place where this exhibit is, and Somnium Space is another place where it's going to be. Decentraland is another place where it's going to be, so that this is shared as much as it can be. The intention, with this museum is to really be a home for artists and collectors seeking a cultural institution, a place to express themselves freely. We're a foundation, and we're really doing the work on behalf, and I hope parallel with artists, to keep growing this movement to its full potential, as crazy as I can get. I hope. And with this in particular, Leonardo, as we've all discussed, represents a genius, and he represents someone who thought ahead of his time. And my professor on Leonardo was this guy named William Wallace, who actually wrote the book on Leonardo's and Michelangelo's rivalry. And one of the first things we did in this class was he showed everyone a photo of 150 people or whatever taking photos of the Mona Lisa in the Louvre, right? And he just showed us continuous photos of people taking photos of Leonardo's work. And he was like, I want you guys to think about how this one artist, has transcended hundreds of years into new technology and so many people's minds. I mean, arguably Mona Lisa is the most famous artwork of all time, just because it has its own culture around it. And I was thinking about that with this project. We've added a next dimension to how we are using imagery to look at his work. And this time it's through an Italian artist lens. And that's so beautiful. And it's so cool. And when I think about also his drawings in particular, he's known as a painter famously, but his drawings really represent the part of his mind that was thinking about phenomena. He would study kind of animals, water, sky for hours and draw them, because there was no film, there's no cameras. But what he was able to do is he captured some of the most realistic renders of physics and anatomy, I want to say 400 years before anyone else could, just through his own observation. So this was a man of detail and interest in how things work and how to just destroy them and recreate them. And so I think Hackatao, in the way that Noah was talking about, really has done an amazing envisionment of that with this piece. The classic wrap, but also really using Blender to create a bear, when maybe this man spent many hours just trying to figure out how to draw and capture the movements of a bear. So it's full circle, but it also represents a step forward with this whole movement of crypto art and what it means to look back and move forward without any fear of what it implies. And Kirk from Entitled XYZ, who's the architect of this building, and he geeks out about architecture and art history just like I do. And when Colburn, Kirk, and I were talking, we were thinking about antiquity, and Colburn brought up the Pantheon and how that is a place that is very timeless because it was entirely transformed from a religious space to a political space, to a religious space, to a market, and it is one of the most timeless spaces to ever exist. And so this building is inspired by that. And Kirk has a specific fascination with QR codes and how they represent a lot of the ways that we're interacting with objects. So, you know, some of those forms, geometric, are in this space, and the idea of a spotlight is you know, obviously above you with that is in the space as well. And we'll be unveiling another version of this Insomnium space on Friday. And then in a couple weeks time in Decentraland, this piece will be the focus of a entire sculpture garden that is on 3D objects and how they represent a new media in crypto art.
Yes, thank you so much, Shivani. We are trying to let this project breathe for a long time, so it will be permanent on Decentraland. It will be permanent on the metaverse. We are presenting it in as many places as we can. Arium is more of a social space where people can meet with their faces and voices and really just see the art and talk. It's the most similar experience that we have to reality, for whatever that means. And all these other spaces where you can experience it in different ways. And then of course we have the physical show at Christie's in London, where people just enter this beautiful exhibition room that they created with music and like white things coming down from the ceiling, very beautiful. And they give you an iPad and you can experience the digital soul of that. And also going back up to what you were saying about Leonardo, obviously here nobody wants to compare nobody to anybody, just parallel stories that repeat in history, how history repeats itself, you know, like a long time ago when it was really the time to push the boundaries for crypto art. We talk about like I worked on a book which documents the first ever crypto art project, which is 2016, but then like the which is Rare Pepe, but then the first time that we really like began to experience it with platforms and, you know, more actors coming to the space was 2018. But these actors were very few, and Hackatao, they were there. They were, you know, like they're just believing in it in this very little circle of people and seeing the potential of what this could be, which is exactly, it's always the same story. It's just the newest means and form that art can manifest in, right? So the same curiosity, the same tendency to study things and to understand and to use as many new tools as possible. So it's very, like, to me, everything it really makes sense. Even when I looked at this project, I was like, yeah, it's the same story, just the tale is just told with different words, but it's the same concept. So the way that I would like to close this discussion is really just to look to the future. And I'm very curious to ask both Noah and Shivani what you think. Like, Noah, what do you think? Where do you see, you talked about this interaction between, you call it the real world and the digital or NFT world, but where do you see this meeting point going to? Or like, also I'm very interested to know, like, if you think that we should educate the audience to what is digital, like what is your take on where are we going from here?
Well, I would be, that's a great question. I think a lot of people are asking themselves that question, where are we going? And I would be really foolish to say with any kind of authority that I know where we're going. Probably I know less than anybody else. But I think what is happening right now is the distinction between the real and the virtual is blurring and breaking down and becoming unnecessary, really. At the end of the day, virtual experience is not necessarily replacing lived experience, but it's complementing it and becoming tantamount to lived experience in a completely unprecedented way, just because of the fidelity of technology and how rapidly it is iterating and improving upon itself. So I do think that we are going to reach this moment in time where lived experience will no longer have this really arbitrary sort of prominence, and people have a preference over the lived experience versus the virtual. That distinction will not be meaningful at all, really. I think of the beginning of the quarantine, for example, which was such a disruptive and horrific moment in human history, right? And everybody's lived experience was necessarily shortened, or at least the spectrum of their lived experience was shortened, right? You couldn't do things that you normally would, and you couldn't interact with people the way that you normally would. And we saw such a massive adoption of, alternative means of living, which usually is a virtual means of living. I'm thinking specifically about people flocking to Animal Crossing and spending hours on Animal Crossing New Horizons, building and curating their little virtual lives, right? And that was taking up the same kind of emotional significance and space for people as real waking life at a really crucial time. And I think that has really imprinted on all of our psyches and our collective psyches, and what Carl Jung referred to as the collective unconscious. So there's this. I really feel that we're approaching that moment in time where lived experience and virtual experience and also virtual possessions and real possessions are going to be one and the same.
Yeah, and I also think that it's a matter of generations. Like, really, if you even just think about if we talk about art, like who are going to be the next collectors? So those people who are now 10 years old are going to be the next art collectors, or like who are going to be the next artists. And these people, like, again, the voice is always the same, but the language is digital. So I don't see how, like, when we will have the change of generations, really, I agree with you, we won't even see this like this gap.
Yeah, it'll be seamless. I was giving an interview to Good Morning America, and I had this crazy epiphany moment where the interviewer was asking me questions and trying to dumb it down as much as possible for the Good Morning America audience, which is mostly boomers and grandma and grandpa.
Yeah.
And so he asked me to explain NFTs to him as if he were a child. And I had this weird cognitive dissonance where I was thinking, if you were a child, you'd already get it.
Yeah, exactly.
I could just say Fortnite skin, and you would understand immediately. Oh, it's a Fortnite skin that only I can own. Okay, that's an NFT. Moving on. So I had to explain NFT based art to this guy like he was a rock or a tree. It was so not a kid. Yeah, because again, that to me is really striking. That's really a striking thing.
I think also, when like there's the next generation, there's also this, like, I feel like I live on the internet. Like, that's like, we're getting to that place now where all of us are like you were saying, no, where the emotional space that this takes up is as much as physical. And it is scary, I think. It's transhumanist for sure.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be scary when you realize you are in full control of your experiences online. And I think that's what's going to continue to build, is there's an influx of NFTs from like celebrities, gaming, fine art, and you reach a point where you're like, what do I want to consume and why? What makes me happy? And so that question and answer is going to like keep building, I think. And at the same time, especially with LiDAR scanning, the idea of replicating a physical space virtually is gotten boring, I think. Yeah. So we're at the place where like you're gonna want to be jumping from platform to platform to like to see the art and like maybe have it underneath you and like really start to have social, like entirely sensory experiences. But the technology has to improve with us. I think it's coming, but that's some of the most exciting stuff, I think, where the art and tech and display of and consumption of starts to become really personalized.
Yeah, all waiting for that day. But yeah,
I know.
it'll be soon. We wouldn't think that we will be at this point if really like the quarantine didn't happen, we wouldn't be at this point now.
True.
It was like a huge push. So you can never really like plan on these things. But I'm happy that we all see pretty much we don't know what's going to happen, but our vision is shared from three very different points of view of the art world. I would close our discussion here. If you want to add anything, or if people have any questions or just want to chat, we will be around in the Arium space, moving as cubes, speaking and cubes. Thank you so much for being here, obviously, before this amazing work that we have done together. I am very honored, honestly. And yeah.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eleonora. Thank you, Shivani. I loved, Shivani, just before we go, I loved that mention of people pointing their phones at the Mona Lisa, because it didn't really strike me that's what people are doing right now on the floor of the exhibition at Christie's in London, are pointing their phones at Leonardo, but the art is happening on their phones now. That's wild. Who knows what's next?
Yeah. This has definitely unlocked, I think, a lot of things for drawings and paintings. A lot of people are going to start to think about what can pop up, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
A brave new world. Well, thank you, Eleonora, for
thank you.
Connecting us all, and it's been a pleasure.
My pleasure. Bye.
See you all there.
Bye-bye.